Myne, rate the new blog post from 0 to 10. 0 to 10. Considering it's not a dev update, we have to remember that it's not a dev update, so it's not supposed to give us Hytale information. I think it was very informative about the Flex system because people had some questions. We hadn't asked Hytale about Flex. I'm still trying to figure out how the fuck I flip myself. I think it's a solid 7. It's very difficult to understand. So I think that's what knocks the points. I think a lot of us, including myself, just had no clue what the fuck the video was talking about.
Hey everyone! Sorry, I don't know. I don't know why it sounded like a.
Welcome back to Kweebec Corner.
All right, you guys good? We got a blog post, and I'm also live with people as well as I know Myne's live as well.
You said, why is Hugo on screen and Powerbyte on screen?
Well, we were gonna have a bunch of people with some more technical background join us, but
okay.
The timing and time zones.
I was about to.
Hakon's at the theater right now as well.
I was gonna say because I do not speak Spanish. I cannot be the Hugo replacement that you're looking for. Hugo did predict the blog post yesterday. He did predict it.
He tweeted out 199 days, and then.
And he said something about blog post tomorrow, so he did predict it.
Dude. So, I mean, do you guys just want to go through the blog post, like sort of bit by bit, and sort of talk?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's break down each paragraph. Kind of help understand it more.
Did Hypixel like actually tweet about this, by the way?
Yeah,
like,
Hypixel.
They have words.
Oh, did they like say anything additional? Is that what
yeah, like in the actual
check it out.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think they just said, hey, check out this.
Yeah, no, they did. They said, in our first technical explainer, we take a peek behind the curtain at the underpinnings of Hytale's new engine. Learn more about Flex, why we chose it as the ECS foundation of our engine, and how it helps us achieve our goals. And then they link the blog.
Yeah, but I don't think that's anything new per se, right?
Yeah.
That we didn't see in the blog post.
Yeah, it's just like a little intro.
But at least lets us know, yeah, that this is the intro to what we're getting, right? Which is a breakdown of the Flex components and the ECS stuff. The page here. Okay, so hey everyone, today we're going to take a quick peek behind the curtain of some technology. Yep, all that, and then we've got this weird little graphic here, which is sort of interesting. I don't know. When I saw this, I got pretty excited because it's like,
chat, how the fuck do
I don't know. It feels like meta, like it's talking
like
to us outside of the blog post.
I had it, and then I didn't.
Like confused. That's okay.
Yes.
I don't know what you guys thought about it when I saw this. I was pretty surprised, but it's filled me with a bit of hope just reading it. That this is like obviously a pretty technical blog post with a bunch of properties information. I'll scroll down now to load and show everyone in chat.
Right here.
But when you go back up, it's like it's separate from our standard development updates.
What did that do?
So I don't know what you guys thought about that.
Oh my god, what did I just do?
I think it's pretty important.
No, that's not that's not what I need.
This type of technical blog post from gameplay or like game-focused blogs.
Who's in this VC right now? It is Kweebec Corner and Ryan.
Ryan's expecting like a ton of gameplay or a ton of gameplay reveals. Then they might walk away with a bit of a sour taste.
I give up. I give up. I'm not doing that this stream.
Different type of blog, right? And it's giving us progress in sort of a different genre than what we're used to.
Okay, chat was telling me that they couldn't hear my Discord audio because I'm a terrible streamer, but I fixed it. It's fixed. You should be able to hear everyone now. We haven't said much, okay?
So, that's awesome. So you were just talking to yourself, basically. That's awesome.
So I was basically just talking to myself, as usual, as with every stream that I ever do. It just seems like I can never figure out audio sources, but hey-ho, we'll try again. Okay, so yeah, right. So hopefully everyone heard me at least talking that this is a peek behind the curtain and some of the technology underpinning Hytale's engine with a specific focus on one of the frameworks we recently announced, Flex, which is a lightweight and powerful entity component system.
Which, may I add, we did get an Ask Hytale about. They did talk about Flex already.
We did indeed. Yeah, Flex has been something that we've spoke about a little bit on the channel. Okay, yeah, chat says they can hear us all. It's all good. They've talked about Flex a little bit on the channel. It's sort of a part of the engine again, I'm not super technical, guys. So at the end of the day, that's why I've got people here in this call that can break it down for
I
us.
do not know anything.
We'll
I'm just here for the vibes.
Mine's
well,
our
I think the
local
blog
expert.
post explains it a little bit, right?
Yeah,
But,
yeah. I think the
at
blog
least
post
we
tells
know
you
that
everything
there's
you need.
clarification. This is definitely a technical, different thing from like a regular update, which I think is important to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that the images they
Okay.
gave us are super helpful.
Okay, so they talked about the decision to reboot the Hytale engine, switching from a Java server and C# client to building both on C++. There were many reasons for making this change. We wanted to ensure we could release the game across multiple platforms. We wanted to improve our performance when targeting lower spec devices, and we wanted to build a core engine that was robust enough that we'd be able to patch and maintain the game into the future. So, like, again, it's not things that we don't know already. Like, we kind of already got the idea that, like, this is sort of one of the reasons why I guess there was the delay back in 2021. So going back 3 years now.
You watch me, obviously. I mean,
we
you
knew
can
that they
have
wanted
both
to go
open.
cross-platform.
I don't know.
We knew that they wanted to try and
Obviously, you watch
improve
me,
like
though.
what was possible on low spec devices. But it is good to hear that that's still like one of their core things.
Yeah, because that was the thing that I was super excited about when, back in 2019 when they talked about the fact that you could run Hytale on like a really potato laptop, and the fact that they're still aiming for that, because that was an issue for me when I was getting into Minecraft. I mean, Minecraft it's a block game, but it's hard to run. You need at least some sort of computer to run it, and my laptop back then could not. And so this is hopefully gonna allow a lot of people with a less beefy setup to play Hytale.
It also begs the question, I guess, like because they're making it obviously for mobile devices as well, so it has to be able to run on a mobile. It has to be able to run on, like lower end PCs as well. So I'm trying to think if that will, and this has always been a worry since they announced the cross-platform, like whether that will limit anything. Depending on how much they value like pure parity, like same features across every device.
I don't think that's an issue anymore in 2024 though, because phones have gotten so powerful. I mean, my phone is stronger than a lot of lower end laptops. They can run some crazy graphics. I mean, Genshin Impact's a perfect example of that.
I'm curious, what do you think about that, Ryan, specifically, like in terms of low spec stuff?
Especially them switching towards using Flex, which is a fairly lightweight and performant framework. Performance of a game is very much tied to the accessibility of it, as Myne was touching on it a bit as well, which is if less people can play the game at a decent performance, that's less people playing the game. Because it sucks to, boot up Minecraft on a lower end PC and, notice that your frame rate is visible, the game might be choppy, and maybe that restricts people from having mods as well. So I'd say it's very important that they're making that switch over, both in terms of like server and client. Because their server used to be Java and their client used to be C#, to one like a unified code base. I don't know how they were doing it before, so that they didn't have completely separate code bases on the client and server.
Wake up.
But it can get really annoying from a development perspective and really not sustainable to maintain a completely separate server and client.
Thank you, Octor,
and
for
then
the
on top of
the
that,
follow.
working in an environment
I think this is the best
and
way
getting
we're
to
gonna
sort
do
of
it.
rebuild that engine up
We
from
drop
the
that
bare
top
bones,
off.
caring about performance and accessibility on like different devices from the start.
There we go.
Like that's an awesome sign.
Let me just go to the blog.
That's
here.
an awesome sign for both the amount of people to be able to play the game
There we
and
go.
also
Isn't
like
that
the
awesome?
hardware you'll need to run it.
Here we go.
I guess I wanted to ask a question from more like a, I guess like tech for dummies kind of perspective, right?
Yeah.
So they're creating this engine, and when I think about engines, I think about like Unity, like Unreal Engine. Am I like I'm thinking in the right line? So is it normal for games to go off and make their own engines, or do they usually like branch off only a little bit? Like how much of a step away from the norm is it for Hytale to be like making this decision of like building their own engine? Like one, is that significant just across all of the gaming industry or not? And then two, like I think that was one of my worries, the fact that they were doing it on two different code bases always like confused me when I was trying to understand it going back, but now they've sort of unified it. Does that make it more of an official engine? Like how does that work?
I'd say
Can
it
you lower
depends
the
on the game a
lo-fi
lot.
volume? Of
When you see
course, of
games
course,
like
of course, that's on
first-person
this page.
shooters and
Let's
and
lower that a little
vehicle-based
more.
games
Do I
and
have an
games like
extension?
that,
I
there's
should
a lot
have
of
an
tools
extension
which
for
are
that.
already built into engines like Unity and like Unreal,
Volume
like you
master,
mentioned. Where like these engines
There
already
we go.
have
There we
like
go.
really advanced
A lot
rendering
better.
pipelines and you know asset loaders.
Who's in the call?
and
We got Kweebec
all
Corner
these
and
things that
Ryan.
make,
Ryan is a developer,
make,
so
you know,
he's
your
pretty
first-person shooter
informed,
games
and he's
easier
gonna
to
be able
build.
to help
Then when you
Kweebec
look
Corner
at
and
a
I
voxel game or a game
explain
like
this.
Hytale, you've got very specific
I
technical
really
needs
wanted
and a
some
very high
in-game
need for
images, but we still
performance.
gotten John's promise to look forward to.
And a lot
I
of
think
game
we're still
engines
gonna
still
get a
focus on,
development
you know,
update. This is a
voxel-based
different blog post.
experiences.
I
And
think we can still
optimizing a
look forward
voxel
to
game
it.
is very different from optimizing a non-voxel game because, you know, there's tons of different ways. When you look at Teardown versus Minecraft, there's very specific needs that you have for a game like Hytale and a game like Minecraft, where they're definitely doable in commercial engines, but like working your own engine gives you a lot more control.
Is
I think
Teardown
for
a
Hytales,
unique engine?
I am fairly certain they are.
Because that's a pretty impressive
their
engine.
rendering pipeline. Their rendering pipeline is completely proprietary, and I'm fairly certain their engine. Yes, their engine is completely custom.
Okay.
I believe it was developed by Foxagon.
Yeah, because
Just
there's
one
like
of their
nothing
early
out there
developers.
similar to Teardown.
Yeah, and you see that where you've got these specific games, especially Hytale, when you think about UGC, or user-generated content, their sort of desire to make a very moddable game. Doing a custom engine like can likely support that better as well. And when it comes down to like, I guess the second half of your question was more in the genre of like the separate code bases. That's also something that kind of confused me initially. Them going for a Java server and a C# client. I think the goal might have been, again, this is just inference because we have no idea. But the goal might have been that your client needs to be more portable. It needs to be you need to be able to run Hytale on mobile devices and consoles as well. And Java is harder to run on mobile devices, on iPhones and on consoles. So the goal might have been originally with that, you know, go with a C# client so that it can be more portable and more, you know, feasible for multi-platform. And a Java server, maybe only computers could run the servers realistically, which also probably wouldn't have been ideal. And the other thing is they might have found a way to sort of get around this, but working in those separate code bases means that you're working in two entirely different programming languages, which is a lot of work. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into development, sort of DevOps and maintaining that environment. And it means you're split across two different programming languages and two different code bases when working on a feature. So their new approach, which is, you know, going all for this C++ and Flex-based engine, sort of built on some of the Forge stuff, gives me a lot more hope that that'll be a bit more unified, and it hopefully should be less work going into. I wouldn't say less work, but sort of less. There's not that split between the two programming languages, which can add sort of development complication. So hopefully the new engine will be a lot easier to work in for the team, a lot more practical.
I followed that. Hopefully everyone who's sort of in the curiosity region of not understanding that sort of stuff have got it. But okay. Let's move down a little bit. So clearly they want to establish that, by the way, this is a whole post and it's like really long, by the way, guys.
There's
like,
a lot of
to
information
go through here. And so
it's
we will make sure
well
to like speed through this. But to be sure, like this is just a focus on what is effectively like a backbone or like one of the many parts of the backbone of the engine of Hytale, right? And that's what they're really giving us a look at. And then I assume the next part is going to go into specifically like, you know, what an ECS is, an entity component system, and then explaining a few other things like that. So I guess we can move down and talk about the next section. This from one 3-letter acronym to another. What are we thinking with this section? So it's not a new concept. It's not uncommon in game development. Apparently it was a few years ago though, so it was a little bit more uncommon, but it's sort of recently come about a lot more. So it can be complex when first encountered, so I imagine that's why they've made this really, really long blog post to break it down. Of course, that makes sense. So the next part talks about object-oriented programming, so the OOP model or the entity component or actor component architectures. I guess in more simplistic terms, what I'd see this as is like the system that controls the things that move around in the game. But maybe that's too simplified. But like things like NPCs, different characters and mobs, and even the player, right? They're all ran on this system. If I'm to be believed that I'm right, potentially, I don't know. Does that sound right?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, did he die or did I die?
You cut out.
is my internet okay?
You're back
Yeah,
now.
so
You're back
we're
now.
good.
We'll
We're good.
let you know. We'll let you know. We'll let you know. When it comes out.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess ECS is a fairly new pattern or sort of paradigm in game development. It's been around for a decently long time, but it's been popularized more lately. It's sort of just the best way to describe ECS is when you're making a game and you're focusing on entities or moving things. They don't even have to be moving. You're focusing on like how are we defining, what this mob does. And one of the traditional models for that is inheritance, as they sort of mention in the blog post, where you have these these abstract concepts, or in Minecraft, for example, it has a mob, and then a zombie is a mob, and mobs are living entities, and living entities are entities, and you have all these branches. So like under mob, you have player, and you have zombie, and you have pig, and you have all of these things, and it's sort of building that out like a tree, where you have a living entity which has health, and then everything that
How long will the stream be? It will be through the entire blog post. It depends on how long.
And that can
we'll
be really nice.
Could be a very long
because
stream,
it means
I
you can
think. This
define
blog
things
post
fairly
is pretty
straightforward.
big.
So if Minecraft added a new skeleton, for example, they could inherit from skeleton, and then this new skeleton would by default have all of the behaviors and properties of the skeleton that it's inheriting from.
Okay.
ECS is sort of a different pattern of looking at it, though, where instead of building up entities and these things by inheritance, you're building them up by composition.
The
or
stream
you take a
VOD
look
will
at that skeleton
still be
and
there.
you say you're giving it components
So
that define its behavior.
if it gets
So you
too
could
late,
give
you'll
it
be
a
able
bounding
to
box component
resume
that defines,
tomorrow.
this skeleton
Just through
is
the VOD.
0.8 blocks by 0.8 blocks wide, and it's 2 blocks tall, and that sort of thing. And then you might be giving it a physics component that defines that this entity has physics and it'll move around, and it'll react to these forces. And you're building up these entities by using a ton of different components. And this both allows opportunities for optimization, as Flex sort of steps in to help with a lot of stuff as well. And it also means from a modder's perspective, this is what Bedrock Edition does for a lot of its modding. Is in Bedrock Edition, if you want to make a new mob, a lot of it is mixing and matching together different components. So if you're making a boat, you're adding a component that says that it can float. You're adding a component that says this thing is a vehicle, people can ride in it. And from a modder's perspective, if they're exposing this type of stuff to modders, that means it can be very easy to mix and match these things in Hytale, which is what they touched on in this section as well. Sort of transitioning over to this also, popular game architecture, a way of structuring objects, instead of their old method. It's also very well written, if I can just say that. This blog looks like it's very well written. It's sort of explaining a very technical concept, but the diagrams and stuff, I think are pretty amazing.
I think it helps to at least get across the idea of there's like this categorization system, at least to the point where you don't need to make a separate if you needed to come up with like new mobs after the fact, because one of the things they mentioned above in the post as well was the fact that this also helps us patch the game in future and further update it and things. So would I assume an ECS and the use of Flex is going to help in the fact that they can just come by and be like, oh yeah, we designed the game to be able to just add new content, rather than having to figure out all of that after the fact, which I know a lot of games have had to do. Unfortunately, they've just sort of ran into that issue by the natural process of things.
You stay here, of course.
That seems to be what I'm picking up here.
We're getting the same thing.
I mean,
but if you think about it, my stream has bigger Hytale.
ECS
His is in the bottom corner. You get more Hytale here. You know what I mean?
Content creation and modding, because it's seen a lot within Minecraft Bedrock as well, and a lot of modern games that also use entity component system, is that using this paradigm means that from a modder's perspective or from a game developer's perspective, if you have to go back and change how components work, or if you have to you have to like change how a mob works, change the behavior, add new mobs, add new
Hey,
content.
business is business. You know
We've
what I
yet to
mean?
see
People
sort of
are
how
here to
much
see
Hytale
Hytale. I'm
uses the
here to
entity
give the
component
people what
system.
they
We
want.
don't know if stuff like chunks, or sections of terrain are using that system, or if they're using a sort of separate system. But it's definitely a good sign, at least for the modability of the game and for how future-proof it is. I think the Hypixel has been very focused on that whole designing everything so that 5 years in the future, it'll still be easy to work with from a modern perspective and from like their perspective as developers.
So the way I understood it is that it's once you create like one of those systems, like for example, you said a boat, like can interact, can float, you can copy paste that, and once you have it, you can just create a whole bunch of new things super easily because you can just apply those traits, I think is what they called it,
Yeah.
onto the new object. If you're not using the ECS, would you have to recreate that for every single new object? Is that, increase in efficiency?
It's not quite that you'd have to recreate that behavior. It's that it can get a bit. Here, I'll try and think of an example. So if you have, let's say, like I'm making a game and I have like a zombie and a pig in the game, and they're both separate entities, right? And then I also have a boat. And when I'm making my boat, I say, I want this thing to float in water. And so I add that behavior to the boat. And then I realize, hey, you know what? I also want my zombie and my pig to be able to float in water. So what that means is either I'm going to have to copy this behavior from the boat to the zombie and the pig, or I'm going to have to move this behavior to somewhere where the zombie and the pig and the boat all inherit from. And so this sort of creates... ECS has this whole... You mentioned with the traits, where if I make this component that says this thing can float, or the system that manages entities floating, then I can apply that to any entity pretty much just by adding that component, or, that trait to them. And in the inheritance model, it's not that you have to copy this behavior all over the place, but it's that you can sometimes get these messy trees of inheritance, where you want this behavior into entirely different types of mobs. And that means either you have to add it to, their most common ancestor, so you have to add this behavior to all entities, or all entities that these inherit from, or you have to copy it or make a separate thing that both of them use. So it's really just another way of structuring stuff. It's a very modding-friendly way of structuring stuff. Some of the previous studios I've worked for, we used entity component systems there.
When do you think the actual
it leads
blog
into this
will
thing
drop?
called
I'm
data-oriented
still sticking with
development
my
as well, or
guns
data-driven
and
development,
saying
where
July.
you can sort of
That-
define entities
I
in a
think
very
they're
modular
dropping
way.
this mid
So if I'm
June,
creating a boat
so that we
in
have
Minecraft
something to
Bedrock
talk
Edition,
about,
or
and
in, an
they
entity
introduced
component
a new
system-driven
archetype.
game, there's a good chance that I
here.
can, I can make...
But I think, because it doesn't replace the development. I asked this Buddha. I don't think it's public, but this technical blog post, it does not replace a developer blog post. It's strictly just a new type of blog post. And so I'm very confident that John will write the next blog post, and we'll actually see the gameplay and screenshots. I think Buddha said that in reply to my tweet, saying I did not have a new blog post archetype in my bingo list, and he said times are changing, time to update that bingo list, which implies, it could imply that there's even more types of blog posts that we haven't seen yet, but it definitely implies that this is a different type of blog post than the development one, and so that it doesn't throw off the development blog post cycle.
Game. When it comes to the technical side of things, cubic chunk loading doesn't necessarily mean that their world height is unlimited. It means the world loading would mean it's a lot easier to make the world unlimited. One of the big things that happens with a lot of voxel games is that, how in Minecraft they've got their lighting engine where stuff casts shadows if it's really high up. So if you have a block of the sky limit, it's still going to cast a shadow all the way down on the ground. That's one thing a lot of games come into with cubic chunks. There's quite a few games that try cubic chunks. Then they realize they want their lighting system to work from like the top of the world to the bottom of the world. And that means if you're at the bottom of the world, or you're very low down, you're 2,000 blocks down, and in order to know if there's a shadow casted on you, you would have to load all the chunks above that chunk to know if there's any blocks in them. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But in order to know,
follow, by the
if
way.
there's a
Old
block
man
5,000
Suds, thank
blocks
you
up
for the
that's casting
follow.
a shadow,
Appreciate it.
a lot of games sort of run into that hurdle there. So I mean, there's also different ways of architecting lighting systems that don't encounter that issue. I think it's mainly just up to how high they want their world to be. Cubic chunks are definitely they definitely mean that type of thing would be something that could be pursued a lot easier. Minecraft's model for chunks is column based, so doing higher world heights means you have, if you want a 2 times higher world height, that means you have 2 times more chunks loaded at one
How
point
often
in
do I
time.
stream on Twitch? I
And
was
that's a lot
streaming
of
for a good
performance, and
bit
that's a lot of memory usage.
like
So,
1 or 2 months ago.
yeah, I think
but
it's just
I
up to
don't
what they
really
want.
stream that often.
I'd
It's
love
really
to just
just
slide
when...
the render distance
Hold on.
slider on Hytale and just see like all of that stuff load, or just like.
Right now is really just if there's like a cool event or something happening, like blog post. If there's a blog post in the future, I will definitely be streaming. So the next one, if it is happening in July, and I'm home, that is also a thing. I could be working and like super busy, but I mean I'm supposed to be working now, but like fuck the blog post. So like I'm gonna be working late tonight because I work from home. But do you ever plan on streaming on YouTube? Yeah, I'm thinking of making the next blog post stream a YouTube stream just to check it out. I think at the end of the day, my streams will be on Twitch, or maybe they're on both. I don't know. I'm gonna try out YouTube stream for the next one. I'm just not the biggest fan of YouTube streams, but I know there's a lot of people that prefer it. So yeah, next one will be on YouTube, but generally if I'm playing things or there's events, I'm gonna be doing Twitch. But you'll find out where I'm streaming. I mean, if you're following both, you'll know, and if you're in the Discord, you'll get added, or I'll tweet it out. Because I don't really use Twitch, and using Twitch just to watch your streams is kind of inconvenient. I understand. Yeah, because everyone has YouTube, not everyone has Twitch if they're watching from a phone specifically.
For how entities are made up, which is, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because like I mean, it seems maybe a bit unusual to think about, but like I always just noticed there was always this like weird implication in the way they worded certain things, like even on this graphic of how there's like a link between the literal structure of like the worlds and the chunks and like all the blocks that go in it, as well as like linking that heavily into like the ECS, like the entities and stuff like that, right? Like,
yeah, if they're using the same systems for and Trorks and
What
entities
the fuck is
as
he
they
talking
are
about?
for
What graph linking the world?
chunks and
Oh,
stuff.
the chunk one.
Well, I think there's
I was like,
the
what in
other
the
thing
world?
there where Minecraft has Minecraft and other voxel games like Vintage Story sometimes can struggle with chunk loading performance. Now nowadays they've gotten a lot better with that. But Flex provides some pretty awesome querying tools, or tools that can speed up large quantities of entities a ton. So Hytale using those systems for chunks as well raises some sort of questions in like questions
What's
of
up,
how performant
meme?
that
How's it
stuff will
going?
be. Using like Flex for chunks is a pretty good call in my opinion, but it's sort of cool that they're using the same. Minecraft has a very differing system. Minecraft has blocks, entities, particles, and chunks, and all those things. And a chunk is nothing like an entity. They're completely different things, right?
So
when
Minecraft uses
people
them
are
all
modding-
separately.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that means if I'm
Right,
making
okay.
A mod that interacts with entities,
That's true. I am the
none of
number
that
one
stuff is gonna
Hytale
transfer
streamer in the
over to
world.
chunks. So if I assume that'll be sort of the case for Hytale as well, where it doesn't make sense to like, apply an entity component onto a chunk. But it is kind of reassuring that they're keeping all this stuff in mind and trying to build it all around this like entity component system.
so this graphic that I have up on the stream, it's the one where it's like components, entities, like the orange and blue. I mean, I know these are all like standard like game terminology and everything, and nothing particularly new here. But I just wanted to go through like the some of the phrasing and stuff, like the inventory, stats, model, controller input, behavior, like all seem like, I don't know, just something.
I
maybe
wiped out the
worth
competition.
mentioning.
What do I say?
And then this bit at the
People
bottom
are
that
too
says, "This
scared to
makes
be
it
a Hytale
creature,
streamer
this
because
whole
they know
idea
they'll
of
never
behavior."
be number one like me, so they don't even
Which,
try.
I don't know. I'm like
So
super
that's why
eager
I'm
to
number
get
one,
into
actually.
like the breakdown of, like, as much as I love this backbone, I want to see the rib
How
cage.
often are they
You know,
gonna
I
come
want
out?
to see what this then
We
extends
don't
out
know.
to. So like,
We can
what
hope.
different
Well, this one
behaviors
says
can
summer,
mobs go through?
so I
Like, do they
assume
have
it's gonna be seasonal.
different mood swings, and like this whole idea of like these mobs having like a fuzzier behavior, right? This idea of them being able to make all sorts of like almost randomly influenced decisions based on a specific pattern. That all is pretty interesting to talk about as well, I think.
Yeah, I think
Also,
a lot of the
controller
components. Oh yeah, I think a lot of the components they put for demonstration purposes at the bottom probably. So you probably can't infer too much when it comes to like what the actual
Yes.
components mean. We need like a whole theory video about what the chair entity is. You gotta get on that.
10-minute video coming
like,
up.
Maybe
10-minute
there's a
video.
story about it. The first
The
Hytale
lore.
entity was like a wooden chair or something, maybe. We got Buttercat in the chat, community manager of Hypixel Studios. What's up, dude? How's it going? Thank you for gracing us with your presence and also a technical blog post.
What's
we
up,
appreciate
Buddha?
it
What's up?
greatly.
What's up? Yeah, I'd love to infer on, you know, controller input component and its meaning for the game, but I think that's
does it mean
that's
keyboard
probably
controller or does it mean controller?
Well, it's probably both, you know. But
Mhm.
I think those are just like an example they sort of laid out to give an example of what a component system could be used for.
What kind of
or
controllers
just
do
how
you
it
think are
works.
possible? Do you think we're going to be able to use more than just like a standard Xbox or PlayStation controller? Do you think we'll be able to use like a gamepad?
I don't think that's something we can. I don't think that's something we can infer from this blog. I mean, I'd hope if they're going for, you know, console and mobile stuff that we'd be able to use. We'd be able to use controllers on our computers as well. That'd be pretty nice. But
So
I know that
the
there's...
council's got an interesting. Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, you go first.
It's a tangent. It is a tangent.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. I was gonna say the council said from a lore perspective, how does making a new world work? If the main world was made by someone like us, then when we make our own worlds, does that mean we'll have full control over our world? I thought that was a pretty interesting question because that's
what does that mean?
something that I think the team's touched on a little bit. So the fact that, like, I guess going into the lore of adventure mode for Hytale,
Yeah.
we know Gaia like is like a player, right? She's like an avatar like us, so we can infer that she is almost equal to a player. And I guess Orbis being the world that we know she's the god of Orbis, quote unquote. So she made Orbis. So this idea that, like, does that mean that when we go off and make our own experiences and worlds, do we have as much capability as Gaia? And I think that's an interesting point because that's something that the team have talked on a lot, is giving us all the tools, if not most of the tools, to make what they've used to make the game, right? So like we can take those created tools and make our own version of Orbis. You know, granted, we may need 100-person team to get it done, but I think that was like kind of one of the points they were touching on. And a little bit more time, yeah, perhaps. I know that Buddha will feel that in the chat.
Yeah.
I mean, they also said that... didn't they also say that there's like only one avatar per world or something like that?
I don't know if they ever specifically said that, but like, because I've always had it in my own little head canon, and this has never been confirmed like at all. But like the idea that if Gaia is an avatar, then also does that mean Baron is, or is he like what would he be then? Like, you know what I mean? Like that I've always tried to understand that. But like taking it away from the lore a bit, because I know this is a bit more of a technical thing, and I know you guys will have something to say about this. I mean, one, we've got an update from Hypixel Studios, and someone in the chat said, please make a post like this once every 3 months. Technical stuff is awesome to learn more about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, I think people will be conflicted on that. Like, some people will be here for the, you know, the release date and the trailer and the video gameplay.
Aren't we all?
But some people will also be very, very interested in... Well, I feel like that we've got two sides of the coin here, because I'm not the most technical person in the world. But Ryan is definitely, like, interested in all this stuff,
100%.
like, to a maximum degree, I imagine. right? And then we've got
Yeah.
you, Myne, as well, which I don't know what side of the coin you.
Oh
really
yeah,
fall on,
no,
but,
I'm
like,
just like you. I do not understand this blog post. I'm letting Ryan explain this all to me, and I'm not really too excited about this because it just doesn't speak to me. It's not my language. So like I'm
it
excited
is
that
a
they're
lot of-
sharing it,
lot of
obviously,
words.
because I'm a Hytale fan, but like I can't take too much away from it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's the type of
yeah.
thing. It's pretty important, and I think a like very good move that they're sort of differentiating this from the typical update blog post. Because there's like some Hytale fans out there who, you know, if they don't really understand the technical side, nor, you know, is it the most interesting to them, but they care about the game a lot. So they want to see stuff like gameplay, they want to see stuff like screenshots and postcards. And then there's the technical side of the community, which are also interested in this sort of stuff. And I think the team did a pretty good job of breaking this this blog post down to a level where if you're not like completely totally into the technical side, you can still sort of understand what it means for the game, especially in the later sections. But at the
love
same
that.
time, like as a player, if I only cared about the technical side of thing and they didn't have, I don't know how to put this. It's like I think the disclaimer they sort of had in the beginning was very important.
Yeah,
That
yeah, I
this
agree.
is like not this is not a typical gameplay blog post. This is a this is a technical blog post.
And Buddha also
I think people. Yeah, go for it, Myne.
Buddha also kind of confirmed that this is not like these are two separate. There's a new type of blog post now, and it is this technical explainer, and it does not interfere, let's say, with the developer update. Because I tweeted to him like, hey, you know, a technical blog archetype was not part of my 2024 bingo, and he's like, times are changing, update your bingo card, kind of, you know, hinting that, you know, these are going to be different types of blog posts. And I mean, that cute Kweebec, if you want to pull that up on your stream too, it says this is a technical blog post is separate from our standard developer updates. They're separate.
Yeah, I think it's very important that they differentiated that, and I think this is a big thing as well, as it shows that Hypixel Studios as a team is learning as well, that they need to make sure that, you know, they don't get people too excited, and also make sure that they are communicating on exactly what it is that they're giving us, especially, you know, after going so long without like these giant big updates as we had come to expect from the game. I think it's also important as well. People may be wondering why I'm not like a little bit more angry that we haven't got like gameplay footage or anything, and it's this graphic right here, like saying that, look, at the end of the day, we know that we're getting that engine reveal, and we know that it is like getting ready to, you know, this, it feels like this is almost like the beginning of a fire, right? Where they're now starting to reference the engine and the things and the components and the parts of the engine that make it run. You know, they've always said that they'll let us know when things are coming, and this feels very much like that.
It does feel like a pre-warning. Yeah.
They very much could have called this the summer development update definitively, and that would have been our summer update, right? But they made that distinguishing difference, which I think is really, really important to take note of. So I'm not too worried about like not seeing anything specific gameplay wise, where I know that there is a large segment of the audience that probably wants to see that. Just know that this is as equally cool to all of the technological people and the modders and the people that really want the behind the scenes stuff. So this is like gold dust for some of those guys as well. And I know that the ECS thing was announced and the Flex stuff was announced, but to have it broken down in this capacity, I think is really cool. Really appreciate
and I
that.
think from the perspective of people who aren't on the technical side either, there's a lot of people who get frustrated because they think, you know, Hypixel's doing nothing, and they're doing a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of work. A lot of stuff's happening behind the scenes, and this sort of gives them that window into the, like, you know, even if it's not sharing gameplay, it's sharing technical stuff that's also important. Stuff is happening.
Please study for your exams. Don't fail because I'm streaming a Hytale blog post.
I'm moving down the
VOD exists. I think VODs stay up for like 7 days, something like that. You have time.
I think I kind of
worry about your exams.
Section,
then worry about the blog post. There's no release date in this one. If this was the one announcing, you know, new gameplay screenshots release date,
it gives us a little bit of
I'd say priorities are here, but it's just
the delay, the old stuff that they were working on, and then hopefully maybe it gives us a little bit of an update on the timeline of the new engine, right? By sort of you know, vice versa, kind of. Yeah, let me just read through this. I'm reading with you guys right now.
I think this is also
So
an indicator that we're going to see a lot more technical blog posts just talking about different things and things that we might be able to understand more. I mean, we've had a blog post in the past that just talks about rendering or world generation, and I think those are going to be in the future grouped along more with these because that's more technical. I would imagine that if they do like an updated world generation one and they strictly talk about the world generation, it's going to be a technical explainer instead of a developer update. And then the developer updates are going to be more about the game itself. I mean, both are the game, obviously, but I think now that they have this differentiation, they can be more
yeah,
loose
I think
about it.
it's important to note as well. This was tweeted by Hypixel Studios account rather than the Hytale account. You know, as much
I
as it
think
is
that's a
on the
very good
Hytale
choice.
website, it's like I think yeah, they made that distinguishing like factor known. So that's good, and yeah, that differentiation is important. And then obviously they are being very communicative, and I think one of the most important things that I guess we haven't mentioned as well is the fact that one of the big contentions around Hytale has been this delay, right? This quote unquote delay that everyone sort of throws the term around like it's it was a while ago now. It was a long time ago when we got delay, and we've continued to be hopeful at every sort of 6-month milestone that we'll get a big update. But I think that one of the things they're touching on here is why it took so long and why that delay had to happen. And it was to do with sort of some components of the ECS. And I know I hate to ask you for more just technical explainers, Ryan, but in terms of the ECS sort of maybe being something that took them a while to work on. I know it mentions it here in the blog post, but how do you think that might maybe affected it? And do you think there's other parts that they haven't mentioned yet that probably did take them a long time to get right and figure out as well?
I can say we can't really like predict the exact things, the reasons they had this quote unquote delay. It definitely
Yeah.
is a lot of work, and a lot of learning and transitioning to go over from, their old engine to an entity component system and working with the Forge like they are now on sort of those core aspects of their engine. We do know, yeah, they spoke a bit in the blog post about how they tried an ECS out on the legacy engine as well. So there's probably that period of them figuring out sort of the future where they wanted to go with the technology, and then evaluating it on the old engine and then going full steam ahead with it on the new engine. I think it's the type of thing where we can't really predict why they made their delay, but it's something like an ECS is definitely a transition over from working with a more traditional object-oriented strategy of working with entities and stuff.
I
We got the
love this
props and
part that they
buttons
say
here.
as well. It's if done correctly, we could make it easy for modders to provide data that would influence the behaviors of the game with practically no technical knowledge. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
um, I know that the team talk about accessibility a lot, at least in regards to like, probably how the game will be marketed, but also like the adventure mode and also the access to like loads of different tools and the servers. But like also, I guess accessibility in just being able to do more in the ecosystem that thrives from it. Whether it's being able to much more easily create 3D models or rigs or like different mobs and AI and stuff, and be able to like, I don't know, kind of plug and play, so to speak, with all sorts of different like features, rather than having to figure it all out, download third-party softwares, like go online, watch 5 YouTube tutorials about it. It feels like it's going to be a lot more accessible in the fact that the behind-the-scenes stuff is there as well. At least like
Yeah.
in regards to like easy access tools, things labeled a bit more simply, probably like for some certain things. I don't know. I feel like it's really interesting, the idea of like a young like up and coming game designer or someone really interested in modding that's never done coding at school or anything like that, sort of coming up and learning through this engine and this platform is really cool to think about. And then obviously knowing that ECS implementation can help with that as well in terms of performance and accessibility is really cool. So
I
yeah,
think it's going to be a real dummy test when you and I get our hands on it. And if we're able to create something, I think they've done a good job. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. Yeah, I think if I can make a mob like actually function as somewhat of a comprehensible
Yeah, it doesn't like break the map.
creature,
Then I think they've
yeah, I
done a
think
good
that
job in
that would
making
be cool.
it, dummy proof.
I think the thing is as well, I had the experience of like playing Minecraft for like over a decade of just going through that ecosystem and trying to figure out how everything worked, because there was really no like simple everything all together solution. And obviously it's improved over the years with all sorts of different things like custom like launchers and third-party stuff. But back in the day, like having to learn all of that, I remember I had to learn Hamachi.
Oh my
How
god!
to, like,
You brought back
port my
terrible
IP.
memories.
It was like yeah, like port forwarding your IP to try and get like your friends to connect on a server for your Hamachi.
Now it's
like, that
literally
was,
just
like-
a mod. You download Essentials, I think it is, and you can just play a multiplayer game
Yeah.
without having to buy a server. It's crazy.
And like even the fact that there is just like servers with hundreds of people on and it all sort of, I'm not gonna say like runs smoothly, but like that experience for me was so trial and error, as opposed to what I feel like Hytales will be. I feel like people will get to the stage that I got to a lot quicker in regards to like I did eventually like, you know, go on to do some marketplace maps and concept mobs, and I even got like one animation into a map once, which I was pretty proud of. But that was the last of my Blender efforts. Yeah, hopefully in Hytale it'll be a bit easier. I think that would be really cool. I can't wait to stream like making my first custom Hytale thing.
You know what would be a fun stream idea? You know, dude, like a model maker versus. Like we both get 3 hours. We have to make something cool. And see what comes out afterwards. It's just gonna be us yelling at the model maker, being like, "Why are you not doing what we're trying?"
We could do like a battle royale with it and have like a tournament. And, like everyone tries to make the best models.
A model maker tournament, and like actually have the best community artists battle it out and have chat vote on it.
Dude,
you're giving me ideas.
Yeah,
we put it all into. We put it all into a mod pack at the end of it. All
That'd be so
nice
sick.
Nice neat.
Write that down, someone.
Dude, write this one. I was already getting a pen. Hold on.
that actually sounds so much fun.
Hello, guys.
So I mean, oh hey Hugo.
Hugo's here. I know you joined a while ago, and you were just sitting here. I was waiting to see when you talked.
Yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt.
Hugo Trog, how are you feeling, dude, about Blogpost?
Man, I haven't even read it yet. I was out and I slept.
Well, we're going
Dude,
over it
mean,
on stream a bit. So.
Yeah, we're going through it. So I mean, if like you're still reading through it, we're only at a reliable foundation for a new engine. So we're pretty slowly just discussing everything from the post.
Oh,
so
you know what I just thought about?
Feel free to add any input whenever you feel. Yeah,
I want to know how Hytale Spins covers this.
Oh, me too. I'm excited for the Hytale.
How in the world are they going to construe this blog post?
For anyone who is not aware, there is an AI-run channel called Hytale Spins in the Hytale YouTuber community, and they literally just take Myne's videos and his podcast footage and just like generate a script around it, and then just use the footage, and they are just horrific. They just constantly do that, and it's always interesting to see how they cover a story, because it's usually how does the AI grasp what other people have said about the story rather than actually taking it from any actual source. So it'd be cool to see what they say on the subject. They might even use this live stream. Who knows?
Oh my god. Well, we've actually never tested that. If they can take a live stream. I know they only take YouTube videos.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
That'd be funny.
So this is about the new engine. I'm talking about when they rebooted it, they wanted to keep using the ECS that they'd made, but extend it to the client as well because it was only server-side at the time. They wanted to reap the benefits. Shift to C++ would mean there could be other frameworks out there, ones we wouldn't have to build and maintain ourselves, cutting-edge features that would push the boundaries of the paradigm. Yeah, because they said they've used a lot of the features that Flex provides. Like they've really leaned into it and used it. And I think they said earlier in the post that is what they use in like Unity and Unreal Engine as well. They utilize a lot of the tools that Flex gives. I say that like I know the tools that Flex gives. I certainly don't. But,
there's a lot.
Shout out. Yeah, I can only imagine there's quite a lot to get into. So let's see here. Out of the box, it gives a variety of features, common to most ECS implementations, along with excellent performance and multi-platform compatibility. So that's good to hear. We spoke about that a little bit. Just this extra, ability to do multi-platform, which I know has like been a big goal of theirs.
Oh, we've got Hawkon too. Big party.
Hey Hawkon, how's it going,
He's deafened.
Ah.
He's deafened. We'll speak to him soon. and has taken full advantage of its smart. So I am just reading this on the stream, but like, feel free to anyone hop in at any point if you've got anything to say that you think's cool. Because I'm still trying to analyze it in my brain to figure out how I can break this down. To
Oh,
people.
same. Oh my god. That's why I love talking about new posts or blog posts on the Hytale podcast first, because it lets me just like dissect everything first before actually sitting down and be like, okay, how do I explain this? So rambling is a super helpful thing, be it in VC or the podcast, for example.
So I see this paragraph's about like child-parent relationships, not in the most literal sense, but in regards to components being linked together. And so this idea that I imagine that's like almost like this sub-layer of categories, right? Where it's like you've got all these different categories and you know, behaviors set to certain categories, and there's that tree that you explained earlier. But then also this idea that certain categories themselves can share relationships, so there's like patterns within them or something, right? Like that seems to be what the linking to here I was kind of mentioning. Find me all entities that entity B likes, like stuff like that is.
Well,
I don't know what that means.
there's a bit of a parallel here. I suppose I can draw a bit of a parallel to Minecraft's performance. A while ago in the Nether update, do you remember the Nether update?
Oh, do I?
Yeah, so there was a feature they added in the Nether update where piglins were scared of certain blocks and certain other entities. Right?
What's up,
and so they
Qfie?
run away
Is
from
it
them
Qfie
as
or
fast as
coffee?
possible. And that's sort of a relationship that the piglin has with those things. But because or another example is bees in Minecraft added in 1.15. They go toward their hives and they need to know where the other bees are for their pathfinding. And the way Minecraft does its entity queries, or the way like for example, those piglins would look for all the blocks around them, and they would look for all the other entities around them, is very slow. And so it meant when the Nether update came out and when the snapshots were going, there were a lot of performance issues that had to be worked through. And Flex has a lot of query systems built like straight into it to help with those sort of searches where you're doing like positional queries. You're saying what are all the entities within this area, or you're looking for more broad things like what are the entities that are scared of this one. Maybe for mob AI, so the mobs like run away. So it's sort of having those query tools is massive for performance on how easy it is to optimize stuff in that area.
See, that's interesting because there was that Ask Hytale about the modding and like the idea of making it so that, if I remember rightly, it was something along the lines of like if your pet smiled at a certain mob, it would like run away, or like something would happen like that, or like it would affect its mood or like change its state. So it's sort of touching on those sorts of more.
Wait, where did they post that?
I guess is complicated relationships the word? Is the one where John reads out like the 3 different like things
yes.
for modding.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, where it all comes down to
pufferfish.
basically just yeah. I saw it was something like that where it was like, oh, if it like interacts with another mob, then
yeah, it can like
the
scare
mob will,
animals
freak out
away.
or something. Yeah. Which I don't know. I read that and I thought, yeah, that's like an extra layer that I didn't expect from them. But then it also excites me at how it could be like manipulated when it comes to like modding and changing the aspects of mobs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just running through this.
Make all Kweebec scared of players holding torches.
Bruh, that I feel like that should already be in the game. That should be like hard code.
I hope it is.
Find me all NPCs bearing swords that are aggressive to the player. So would that be like, I know this is probably a crude example, but like in a lot of Bethesda games like Skyrim and Fallout, you'll have like the console and you can just type in commands and it will like identify any type of like NPC or quest log or like certain things you can trigger by using the console. Is it kind of like that where like being able to detect certain NPCs with specific variables, like, you know, the ones that are aggroed on the player and stuff?
Yeah, what they're talking about is just Flex has a query system in it to search through like large quantities of entities for those specific components and specific properties. A lot of entity component systems have query systems. in the same way. And the idea behind it is, you're letting Flex handle the optimization of going to search for all these entities with these specific things, and then you in your own systems and in your own code, or Hypixel is caring about what to actually do with those results. So in this case, you may be searching for every single entity with a component that marks them, as aggressive, and then going through those entities or refining your query to say, they have to have this component. An inventory component, and they have to have this item, and stuff like that. And in a game like Minecraft, Minecraft, for example, has very slow queries, because it picks all the chunks. Or let's say you're looking for all the entities within a 5-block radius of the player. Minecraft picks every chunk. Minecraft picks a lot of chunks around the player. And then it'll look within every one of those chunks, and it'll look at every single entity within all of those chunks, and then narrow it down to the entities which meet the criteria of being within a certain amount of blocks. And what that means is, if you're looking for all entities within 50 blocks of the player or something like that, or if an entity wants, like a pigman wants to run away from a hoglin, 50 blocks away. You have to be searching.
I thought you were going to say a
single
piglin
entity.
run away with me.
If a piglin wants to run away from a hoglin, or all hoglins within like 50 blocks, that's a query that you'd have to do. You'd have to say, "Get me all entities or all hoglins within 50 blocks." And Minecraft will just go through every single entity within 50 blocks. So if you've got a pit with like 500 chicken in it, Minecraft's going to go through each one of those and check if it's a hoglin.
Thank you, Qfeed, for the follow.
And what an entity component system lets you do, is have more advanced queries, where it's a lot more optimized. You just ask, give me all the hoglins within 50 blocks.
Mine isn't understanding anything
already
right now.
has all those hoglins basically ready, and it just runs them through a quick query, gives the code all of them. So it basically, what they're saying here is this behavior and using an entity component system to sort of store all of their data and all of the entities makes it easier to optimize mob AI and that sort of stuff, where you really need to be aware of all the entities around things, or all the entities that meet certain criteria.
Someone in chat said, Grim Smile said, Java is more freeing, but making mod packs can be quite the mess, especially when you are trying to merge 300 to 500 mods all together. It not only takes a toll on the game, but can cause a lot of errors. So I was curious, I guess there will inevitably be individual mods, of course, for Hytale, but then the idea of grouping them together. Do you think that's something that will be made easier by anything that's touched on in this blog post at all? Just going off of what Grim's asking.
I think they'd probably, like, we have no idea what their, like, concept of a mod is yet, so we don't know
right.
We don't know, like, if the concept of a mod pack is the same in Hytale, as it is in, Minecraft and Terraria and all the current games. I think I'd definitely be excited to see a blog on, how sort of mods are architected in Hytale and what their idea of a mod is, and how those are structured.
I've been waiting for that for like 4 years. I feel like
I think a lot of people.
But that's also
there was never really clarification, right?
That's also a big topic. Like that's a very big topic. So I mean, I can totally understand if that's not something we're going to be made aware of for
I think because it probably is so intrinsically linked with things like not necessarily servers, but like custom player experiences, and then also potentially like if there was a marketplace or like a way for mods to be distributed on in some like visual way, like that would all need to be talked about really together. I guess if they were going to really nail it on the head and just get everything clearly across, because otherwise just revealing bits and bobs of like the things that are connecting to each other, it kind of creates that murky vagueness.
Creates loose ends.
Hypixel are trying to get away from that at the moment. Hypixel Studios, like they want to make sure that they're being a lot more serious.
Oh, he's here. He's here.
Oh my gosh.
I do think that they're gonna do that announcement about like how modding works in detail before the game comes out, or even before a beta or people can play, just so people can prepare themselves.
They want to test the modding features before the game is out.
Are you just quiet for me? Oh, I have you super low.
I did see someone comment earlier in the chat. I can't find the message now, but somebody commented on like on hoping that the client would be modifiable, like it is in Minecraft Java. And I think that is one thing we can pretty safely say isn't the case, because they did answer that in a previous blog.
Yes.
Saying the client is not modifiable. But the hope is, and their goal is, that with their tool set, you won't need it to be. And with their modding features.
Which is quite a bold statement, but if they really, really are going to go that route of like giving us everything, then, I mean, is that a good enough trade, right? Like, okay, yeah, we can't access the client or modify the client, but we don't need to,
Well,
right? So it's like...
the thing is, it's a benefit because, well, you couldn't really have like a client to... You wouldn't have a good option if it was multi-platform, right?
Yeah,
Mods would
and
just
also
be
for security.
fucked.
I was thinking security as well, because it's going to be a lot more
We're not
difficult
live, are
to create cheats.
Yeah.
We are
live.
live.
We are live. Don't say anything you wouldn't normally.
All right.
I'd say like a lot of that as well is just like in Minecraft Java, a lot of people, well, there's a lot of people like, I wish when I joined a server in Minecraft Java, it would download all the mods. Why can't Mojang just do that? And the thing is, with Minecraft Java, we're working with mods that are, you know, they're literally modifying the game's code and tacking on extra things. So to allow people to log into a server and automatically download all the mods, that's a massive security issue. Because people can put malware in a mod, and then if somebody joined a server, it would automatically download.
Wasn't that an
So
issue
I
with
suppose-
TF2?
I
think
I'm
TF2
not familiar
had something
with
like
TF2.
that. Because when you join a server, you automatically download all the assets. And I mean,
Yeah,
TF2 has been plagued with hackers, and I think they were able to do malicious things with that.
Yeah, it's a security risk, right? And so the two ways to get around that, or sort of what Minecraft Vanilla does with resource packs, where you join a server and it downloads a resource pack of all the resources you need, and then you know it handles your resources can do a lot of stuff just by themselves, right? They can modify all the textures, a bunch of models, stuff like that. And then there's also games which have an embedded scripting engine. So that's something like Lua, where you have this lightweight programming language that people or modders can write code in to modify the way the game behaves. And then because it's in this like separate language, it's not like modifying or tacking onto the game's code. The game can run that separate language and run all of the code in that scripting language without it becoming a security risk. Nearly as much.
You mentioned, so I mean, we only have a little bit of the blog post technically to break down, but I know that we'll probably have like lots to talk about after that. But I know that you did mention, Ryan, that you enjoyed the combat action evaluator stuff, and I liked it as well, probably for different reasons, but because it was also addressing something here, if I find it, which let me just take the gameplay footage off the screen so everyone can see it. So it said, while it fulfilled its... So it was a thing that they made. It was a combat action evaluator. They talked about it, I believe, in another blog post or in another section of a blog post. And it was in the legacy engine, but they wanted to move it over to... Well, they say that it fulfilled its purpose admirably in the legacy engine and provided combat NPCs that at time could be mistaken for human players. Limitations had to be imposed upon it due to its potential impact on the general performance of the game. So allowing these, so it's this idea of like these fuzzy decisions that these NPCs make.
What do they mean with fuzzy?
I'd say
I'm
they don't
curious on
want. Like what I infer from the context is in a game like Minecraft, your like mobs and a lot of modern games, your mobs are fairly robotic.
Okay.
You know, they
predict
might
what
they
they're gonna
might
do, basically.
path towards you for, you know, this set amount of time or until they reach this amount of blocks or units, and then they might try and attack you, and it's this like set string of rules, and there's no fuzziness. There's no like, you know, they can deviate or they might accidentally mess up a hit or stuff
Okay,
like that.
yeah, that's what I thought.
So yeah, that's
It's
what
like more randomness, more like unpredictability kind of thing.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's really interesting because like I've always like with the whole idea of them upgrading or like kind of like reinventing the factions kind of thing, like this whole idea of them maybe like not just being changed like lore wise or like even aesthetically perhaps, but like this potential for them to have been advanced like behavior wise as well. Like I I'm trying to think now, but like one of the factions that always kind of disappointed me was the Scarrix. Like they were cool, and they kind of had a cool like hierarchy to them and stuff. But like I never really like looked at them and thought like, oh yeah, they're really going to outsmart me. Like it was never a worry for me. Whereas like I feel like with a more fuzzy like thing, like at least when I think fuzzy, I feel like unpredictable like wild animals. So like the first thing I went to was a Scarrick because I'm a Scarrick hater. But I mean I don't know, maybe not if they were like a bit more like unpredictable. You know, like that would then convince me more that they would you know like be sort of arch rivals to the Ferens rather than just these bugs that just happen to somehow be like clever enough to in you know capture a faction, right? So that's kind of interesting that it touches on that a little bit. So this whole idea as well that they wanted to avoid server. Oh yeah, sorry, go for it, Håkon.
Yeah, I just want to add. So Sanders Mertens, who made Flex, has a blog as well, which you can go to read a lot. It's on a Medium. If you just search Sanders, I can add it in the chat as well. If I also have a read, and there's a lot of interesting points about ECS there, which go into like. There's a very interesting point about how we should think about games as databases instead of, you know, just hierarchies with intelligent agents. And thinking of our agents as interesting questions, and it's a really interesting reads, but it's too much to go into in this stream. But yeah, it's something to go and read if you're interested.
Yeah, if you're interested, it's really, really good. He's an expert on ECS.
Yeah, he is making this entire thing by himself, which is very impressive.
I wonder like how much communication he's had with the team around like all of it. And
well, considering the team is using his solo creation, probably a direct communication weekly, maybe even.
Yeah, they're all in this subreddit as well. No, sorry, not subreddit, Discord server.
Nice.
I should probably not leak that.
As limited by performance concerns through redesigning the internal framework following ECS patterns and making copious use of flex features. Copious use of flex features. That was the term where I was like, wow, that's so they're really in deep with it. We end up with an equivalent which no longer needs to process this data in such an inefficient manner. We can instead smartly group all queries that check for specific information and parallelize them.
I had trouble reading that word when I came across it. I was like, parallelize?
They've developed their own fork. They've developed their own fork of Flex, which means they're kind of parallel developing it with him. So they're contributing a little bit back and forth, most likely.
Because I was gonna say, like, if they're really pushing Flex to its max, then surely, you know, like all good, like sort of like players of a game or testers of a software, like if you're using it that much, you're usually also the one that's making the most new suggestions and requests for additions and new features. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see like just how much Flex grows from it being, you know, used in Hytale to like really push the boat out, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe there's other games that push Flex more, but yeah.
No, it's probably a communication that goes both ways. And it'd be really cool if it was. So that means Flex and, you know, the greater gaming ecosystem would also be seeing tons of benefits from Hypixel's usage of it.
There's a part.
And I love that they then. Yeah, go for it.
There's a part that you didn't read about the NPCs, where instead of constantly being checked their actions, they have like an interval timer. Let me get the exact quote. I think it was interval timer. Yeah. Irregular intervals. This means that we'd avoid any potential server slowdowns from a large number of NPCs being active in combat, but it could also make slower decisions overall slow enough to be perceptible to the player, which I think was interesting. But that was for the Java-based pre-ECS engine. So does that mean
the technical?
Does that mean with the current engine, there's not going to be irregular intervals and they're just going to be able to constantly update the fuzzy decisions?
I'd say the goal probably is to make it so if there is like a visible delay to the player, that's on purpose. And that's like design, and that's not a technical limitation. I do wonder what Java entity component system they worked with before. I don't know if we'll ever get that info, but I'm curious if it's one I've worked with. It's
Yeah.
a little,
And then
selfish curiosity.
when I read
It could be.
this, my first thought was simulating gigantic wars with just so many NPCs fighting.
Yes.
That was my
It took me
first
back
thought.
to the trailer when we seen that big army
Yeah,
like
the
flash.
top-down army. Like, does this
That's the type of
enable
thing
it where I
ECS
can
is
literally
great.
have 100 blue NPCs versus 100 red NPCs? Who wins? Because that would enable so much.
Hytale
Well,
tabs. Imagine like totally accurate battle simulator.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
Well, you know, if they're optimizing their game and they're focusing on this sort of stuff, entity component system for architecting a game is a very good pattern for that type of optimization, for having large amounts of entities. If you only have 5 entities in a world, then using an advanced query system isn't going to benefit you a lot. And I suppose a lot of this is both with Hytale having lots of different types of entities, having factions and lots of these different actors all around. You need that performance both for the base game and for people to make creations. Like 100 red NPCs versus 100 blue NPCs by Myne.
Yeah, so it's beneficial both for quantity but also like complexity. Are you guys familiar with emergent gameplay?
No.
I've heard that before in a video essay.
Right. So
Yeah.
emergence is like a concept where a lot of smaller things come together and make a larger thing. Like you might have heard about emergence of consciousness. It's when like you have neutrons that fucking
Neurons.
what are they called again? Neurons that make up a network that becomes something else that's completely disconnected from it. That is you, right? So you can have very small parts that make something very complex, and that complex thing is something completely different. And with games, you can create many different systems that interact with each other and create like entirely new gameplay. Certain games, like you might have heard of Noita, which is essentially it's a wizard game where you have a bunch of different elements, and these elements interact in very different ways. And Flex is something, or ECS is something that works really well with this kind of emergent gameplay because you have like systems interacting. Like you have room for much more complexity in this way.
Yeah, I think it's the thing with Hytale as well. And a lot of games where you're talking about environments and building out like actual living environments in your world with entities and creatures and monsters interacting. And in the case of Hytale, you kind of have factions as well, where you have a lot of different units and a lot of different entities. And like an ECS both helps you because you can build those out with components and traits and in a more modular fashion, where it's easier to share behavior between different entities and derive more behavior. And then it's also good for performance because having these advanced queries means that it's easier to build bigger systems of AI and mob AI interacting with each other.
Yeah, so
of
the way I
the-
see this is they're just building a bunch of components that are fully data driven. So you don't really have to code much. You can just use components and feed them data that fits your entity. So for example, if you want to make a different kind of torque that just simply is a bit more silly, you can just add those behaviors that already exist and change and add fuzziness and silliness, and you don't even have to code if they give us like a big amount of components, a good library of components, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it lends itself to modding very much.
Mm-hmm.
They then sort of underline everything, at least for that section that we covered just a minute ago, with, in essence, this means that NPCs can think faster, reacting to change in the environment and the surroundings much more responsively than they ever could have in the legacy engine. So just sort of tipping the cap there to the fact that, you know, whatever they've got now is bigger and better. So I just think that was an interesting line. Trying to resize screen here so people can see, but yeah, and then to the future, just like capping off, ultimately this only scratches the surface of what is possible with Flex and ECS. Many of the parts of the engine provide interesting opportunities to optimize around ECS, from the asset database to stage world generation, and as both Flex and the Hytale engine continue to evolve, we only expect the possibilities to grow. But then nothing else. We don't get anything sort of like, we'll see you soon.
No teaser,
or like,
no teasers.
You know, like, here's no teasers. It's just looking to the future, which I think so that basically sort of summarizes everything that was in here. Was this sort of look more into ECS and Flex in general, how that's lent itself to not only, I guess, the game being more robust, accessible, and I guess more possible to do things in, but also it was, you know, a big reason why certain things may have took longer than they were expected to originally, and you know, now it seems like it's all going to work out for the future. So I guess TLDR there, if you have just joined the stream or anything like that. But what do you, I'm curious what you guys, what your TLDR is, or what your big taking points are from this. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that rather than just explaining things to me and mine.
I'm curious what you guys think of this kind of development update, where it's like very technical, not really, you know, it's treating you like it's not really like spoon feeding you this information, if you can get what I mean. Like it is really like explaining it properly, and
I think if anything, like the fact that they're taking this time to explain it properly means they really want at least like the core people that are like checking for updates to understand it. Maybe like it's just a case of awareness, but then also as an idea of like, we saw that John mentioned or tweeted once that the creative tools may be accessible before the game actually launches. So this idea of even like preparing people just by like breaking it down, like their whole idea of like making it really easy to mod the game and super accessible to people that may not understand everything or have like the technical ability, I think also extends out to this blog post itself. They're literally going like, hey, we know that not everyone's on the same level, let's bring up everyone to the same level before we, I assume, go into like more of the deeper stuff about the Hytale engine, because I know that we were all sort of expecting a big sort of reveal of that one day, whenever it is. This feels like at least it's sort of hinting to that, like, hey, let's get everyone up on to speed on why we had to do what we did, and what that does, at least as far as I guess the ECS and everything goes, from what I understand it. But I know that there's so much more, which is crazy, right? Like, it's just one aspect that they've broken down here, and I can imagine that like if this is like they set a precedent for like, we're doing, you know, sometimes technical blog posts now. I wonder if that's going to be their new clarification for like, for those who don't know, back in like 2020 and 2019, they almost did them like weekly and monthly. This idea that maybe there are more. Imagine if we went back to like, yeah, we still have like just one big development update every 6 months, but in between we have these like little technical breakdowns that get everyone prepared for the engine and the tools. Like that would be so cool, in my opinion. Like that would make so much more sense as well.
Is this something you would like to continue until after the game's out?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but I feel as well though, like once they've actually revealed everything and the game is out, they'll be more free to do things like actual dev videos, like dev vlogs.
Yeah,
like,
they don't have to stick to a text
tutorials.
format.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, talking about this with the community, because it is something that is very Hytale, and it's kind of trying to introduce people to and make, you know, coding and game making accessible, and right, because they already have the creative play to Creator Pro or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
They want to kind of get you into the interest of coding and different aspects related to game development. And so I think this is a very good initiative. And I think a lot of people will be a little like, they might like, it's something that could evoke a curiosity in people. I think to have people get exposed to this information, and kind of maybe they get some of it, and then maybe they might look into it more, and it might go somewhere. So I think it's a really good
No
initiative.
need for a Hytale education edition when you've just got Hytale.
Yeah,
I think
Minecraft has done that. Like, Ryan, why did you start coding?
I did start out in Minecraft 1.6.4. That was how I got into programming, was through Minecraft modding. I've gone a long ways since Minecraft 1.6.4. But yeah,
that's how you get inspired by things, and then it goes somewhere.
I'd say this blog is, like, out of the blogs we could have gotten, this was, I think one of the best ones. In the sense of, like, we're both getting some technical info for the people, inclined in the technical side of the community. It's also sort of setting the precedent for, like, this is a type of blog they can do, without, revealing too much of the actual game and the story. And I'd say it's a very well-written blog. It doesn't, it's not going to ruin anyone's expectations for anything. It's, that's a bad way to phrase it, but, it's a well-written blog. They use diagrams very well, and at the beginning there's that image that sort of says this is a different type of blog, and I think that's a very good distinction to make. Is the whole, like,
Very
this is not a
important,
typical
Yeah, I'm gonna be
gameplay
honest. I
showcase
think
blog.
that single disclaimer is the best part of the blog, just for the fact that there is that distinction.
I think it's made people a lot more optimistic. I like, just from the VCs that I had, like right after the post drop before we went live, everyone just seemed to have taken that as a solid note that, like, one, the team are, like, learning, like, good communication here. Like, it's like, we understand that there is a portion of the audience that will be confused by this, both on a, like, broad level, like people coming in, like, that haven't heard about the game for like 2 years and seeing this and being like, wait, why are they not showing the game, right? But also then to people like us, it's kind of like a meta commentary to, like, people in the core community of, like, are you confused that this isn't, like, the thing you were expecting, which was, a big beefy blog post sort of thing. I think it's a really good statement to have there. Like, it instantly turned my mood when I was reading it.
I also think we'll get more of this once the game is out, because John has said, like, a list of things that he can't talk about, one of which was innovations in the block game genre. And so I think there's a lot that they can't talk about currently that is probably a lot very technical, like this, which I would like to, even if we have cooler things around when Hytale is we've seen the engine, and even the game is out. I would like to get, like, a proper explanation of all the innovations they've made. That sentence about, oh, we can't share too much about innovations in the block game genre really got me curious. So I hope to see more of this.
I mean, I think they're going to be, not I think, but they definitely are going to be a lot more open once the game releases, because there's not going to be any, issues of spoiling, of hiding not ready things. The game's going to be out. We see everything, and then they're going to be able to go on, different interviews, different podcasts, different dev blogs, all of it. They're just going to be able to talk about the game and not worry about, have we shared this yet? Are we allowed to share this? It's going to be so refreshing to just see them be able to talk about the game and not. Obviously, they're going to be working on things privately as well still after the game, because it's a constantly updating game. But as far as the game's concerned, we're finally just going to be able to talk about them, talk about the game with them.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a John Hendricks TED.
This blog post kind of feels like the calm before the storm.
That's exactly
kind
the
of
way I
thing.
put it. Yeah.
Don't get your expectations too high. I mean, they're
No,
hard
no,
at
I'm
work.
not.
Dude, a TED
Next
talk though, a
week.
TED talk from John
But
Hendricks.
I
would be
think
pretty
this
It would
kind
go
of
like 6
opens up-
hours.
We got one
Connor.
from Agnes.
This kind of opens up a new type of information and blog post type that we can get fairly common, like from time to time, maybe like every 3 months, they can open up a bit more on the technical side of Hytale, and I think this is really nice. Like, it's really good that they're doing this.
Yeah. Good
I'm
block.
just watching some of this footage now. I'm thinking, like, I guess one other thing to bring up is if they'll touch more on just the whole thing, like the you know, I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase it, but like there's so many elements to the game, but sometimes I do like when they talk a bit more broadly about their plan for things and for what they want it to be. And I feel like this was less of that. It was more of a here's like a really intricate or niche like breakdown of like one of our core things, but there was less of that. Here's what's going on. Like here's the vibe, right? Like so I'm curious if that is what remains for their standard development update, which they say in the graphic that they've put like
Yeah,
the I'm curious if
definitely.
that's more the route they'll take there. Because let's be honest as well, I just want to put it out there. I feel like if they did have another update or something, and all of this was in it, but then there was also more, I don't know if anyone could take that. Like it
It'd be
took me
too
a while
much.
to be able to break this
It would be
post
way
down.
too much information.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have to be separate blog posts.
Yeah.
And
It would
still
also
pretty
Yeah.
also be catering to like two different audiences, right? Like you have the half the blog post would be really interesting to one half of the audience, and then the other for the technical, like interested people and enthusiasts.
I wouldn't be surprised if next blog post, whenever we get the actual standard update, they link this blog post in it. Like they show a new behavior of something and say, this is possible because we're not using ECS. You can read more about it in this blog post we released.
Especially
I
the
wouldn't be
fact that they've
That makes
linked
sense. Yeah.
different things in this blog post, which they haven't really done before. It seems like they're definitely
Yeah,
going to do
they've
that
like
for the next one.
referenced a bunch of their stuff.
Yeah, and this is the first time they've really done it a lot. They might have done it like here and there once, but I really noticed it with this one.
Hey, so okay then. Well, I mean, any lasting thoughts on what this maybe could mean? I know there was a few things that we said sort of initially when we were
Hytale.
going to stream that we could, yeah, Hytale. But yeah, I mean, is there anything that you guys have like this has enabled you to think about something like extra that now you can do? Like, is there like something here that is like really like, oh, okay, that is like
100 blue
different, that's
versus 100 red.
interesting, that's quite
Full movie.
No, I think-
Hytale movie.
I think
100 blue versus
thinking
100
of
red.
I think thinking of what you can do as systems interacting rather than just like I don't know, like stuff happening. If you have like a very specific you know
Oh, Oscar Garvin in the chat.
Yeah.
Sorry, just had to.
Hey,
yeah.
shout out
If
to
you
What's
have a-
up, Oscar?
if you have a very
My-
like dedicated way of developing your stuff, then I think you can make a lot more interesting stuff. Like, say you want to make a mod, and then you're like, oh, I want to make a dog that does fire. But if you think of it as systems interacting instead, you think of it as, oh, I want to make a dog that when it is in water, it turns on fire or something. That does make sense, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you can get way more interesting things to happen if you, if you're making systems
You
rather than
think of
just
it as foundational
stuff that
blocks
happens.
and just a complex thing, basically.
Exactly.
I love how you're
Yeah.
describing that as like a dog was being shown from the Hytale trailer. Brilliant timing on that.
Perfect time.
Good job.
It's awesome.
Awesome. Okay, well then you hit it here first, folks. Hytale comes out tomorrow. That's
Real. Real
Hytale
news.
releasing in
That's
2
the news on the
minutes.
town.
Real news.
Hytale beta in 1 minute. That's
Yo, after the stream, you guys all want to hop on the Hytale SMP?
Dude, we're not allowed to
heard
talk
of
about that on
Hytale.
stream. We're not allowed to talk about that on stream.
Oh, my bad, my bad, my bad,
You
my
leaked
bad,
it.
my bad.
Damn it.
leaked. I'll say, Yeah, I mean, I've got a planned week now because I'm gonna have to figure out a way to put this into a video.
It's gonna
That
take
is
a
little
long
bit
time
more
to script this video.
condensed. Well,
Yeah.
I think I'll condense it just to be more like flavor texty for the broader audience who maybe aren't as interested in it and can probably look it up themselves if they are that interested in it. I think just knowing about it though is like my key here. But then I want to like start making more videos, so I'm like that's my plan now. I'm gonna make more videos.
If you are interested in it, though, look up Sander Merton's blog.
Yep.
I will
It's
definitely
a
check that
very
out
good
as well
blog.
for more context.
He's a legend.
And Myne, man, you've been killing it recently with your videos, dude.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah,
Have you put 2 videos out this week?
2 videos out this week. I'm trying to do 2 more this week with the blog post and the Ask Hytales. We're getting back in the groove of things.
Dude,
That's
it feels
crazy.
good. I like that.
Like, we got a blog post, guys.
Hytale Spins
You
is
got
gonna be
everyone
left in the
post.
dust.
Oh yeah, Hytale Spin's gonna be eaten with my videos. There's gonna be a lot of
I
content
wonder
to
how
steal.
long it will. I wonder how long it will take them to get to the news.
Their
of
content
the-
cycle is 2 to
of
3
this
weeks.
technical one.
It's
I'm
2 to 3
sorry,
weeks.
I just clicked on the new Hytale Spins
It's
video.
it's my video. It's the podcast.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's just the
gosh.
podcast.
It's so stupid, man.
My favorite
Let's,
Hytale channel.
Can we also just commend Evie for making another summoning circle happen?
For real, though.
Yeah,
Yes, and
absolutely.
Hugo for predicting the number of days as well.
Yeah, I literally posted one
Oh,
yesterday. That's
very
crazy.
good. Well done.
Okay, but here's the thing. I posted on Twitter a poll. Is there a summer blog post happening? And Mr. Hugo said no. And in the Discord, Mr. Hugo said,
Ooh.
except at mine, no summer blog post, clown emoji. It's not happening.
Bro, I just don't even know what to believe anymore. I'm just
Believe me.
broken.
I was telling you there's a summer blog post happening, and you were like, no.
Like, you could have asked me a week ago, and I would have said 100% we get a blog
Well,
post.
well, it depends.
go.
It depends what you
I'm
both mean
pulling
by
up.
blog
I'm pulling up
post.
what
Do
I
you
said
mean, like,
yesterday.
Gameplay blog post.
Do you mean a technical blog post? Because that's a
Gameplay
thing
blog.
now. That's an archetype.
Yeah,
Like a
it's
babe is a
really
new
great.
archetype.
It's great to see they're like using Flex, and it seems like they're using it to its fullest potential and more. Like this was a pretty nice blog to get, I'd say.
Yeah, I said literally yesterday, would get the community together and bridge the gap into the summer blog post. In parentheses, it's real. And everyone said it wasn't.
You cooked, mind? You cooked?
I do.
Mine, why did you edit that message?
Because
didn't see
I fucked up I fricked up a parentheses. I don't know if
No.
you curse on
didn't
your
say
channel.
that,
I don't
just
think you
edited
do.
it right now.
Oh, I
it's
edited
okay.
it right now. True.
Yeah.
I'm a
You
phony.
never
Also,
said that.
I
I'm
was
a
talking to
phony.
Mimithyu yesterday, and he literally told me we will get a blog post tomorrow.
Who?
He literally told me that.
Yeah, I was actually talking to
We all
Noxy
kind of
yesterday, and he
predicted
said that they're releasing the game
Oh,
next
wow.
week. So, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's so wild.
I'm actually playing Hytale right now.
I'm trying to conceive of the notion that the fact that there's a distinguisher between like the technical thing and the development update, like what, like I guess the 6 monthly thing, I guess we could consider that. Like, what does that mean that we could get more this summer? Like, do you guys think that we could get?
This
I
okay.
think
So
that's-
here's the thing. This
What about
blog
like
post-
a pride post or something, right? It's Pride Month, you know.
We do need a pride
Pride post.
postcard. I think that's happening.
Yeah.
They've done it every single year.
Wait, did we not get one?
We still haven't gotten one. I think they're still going to do it. They did one towards the end of the month last time.
Well, I wouldn't expect anything in game because.
No. Last time
Oh,
was
yeah,
was
yeah.
concept art. This time's going to be concept art as well. But I think we're going to get a
Yeah,
pride postcard. This blog post is called Summer 2024 Technical Explainer. So I don't think we'd get another one in summer if they called this one the Summer 2024 Explainer.
But it has a
Point.
colon. It has a colon, like a part of a franchise,
Yeah.
like a Marvel movie,
Yeah.
I mean, I could also guess number 2024.
like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. There's a colon in that, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, they could call the next one like Summer 2024 Mechanical Explainer.
Or just develop
Technical Explainer 2. No. I think honestly, like, I'm hoping this is a genre of posts that we can expect more of in the future. You know, whether
Yeah.
that be, you know, another year or less than that. But
Brother, we're gonna be
I
playing
mean, I'm hoping this
Hytale
is
in
a
a
thing
year.
that continues. Optimistic, I see.
Hmm.
I'd love to be that optimistic.
Falcon is thinking 2027 right now. He has
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
we
gonna
know
send a GIF.
we know it's not 2030. You know?
That's true. We can discard that year.
Yeah.
December 31st,
2029.
2029.
I feel
You're,
2027.
Hytale 2027 is the worst thing I've ever heard. It just doesn't flow off the tongue.
It's Hawkon
hard to
and
say.
Slamma
It makes
posting that
It's so
propaganda.
painful.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. What?
It's
2077,
2028, actually.
2077. Hytale 2077.
Oh no.
No,
That sounds even worse.
no, that's even worse.
I mean, at this rate, we're gonna get a Hytale 3 before Hytale 1.
I mean, I think the game we're getting is Hytale 2 basically, so
Yeah, we are getting Hytale 2 because this is a new engine, but I think Hytale 3 is coming out before Hytale 2.
it's a new engine, every faction is revamped, new world places and systems, like it's Hytale 2 directly. It's crazy. We never got to
Yeah.
play Hytale 1.
Hytale 2.
Should release it as
It's
Hytale 2.
so.
Oh my
I
God.
wonder if adventure mode will have a name.
Adventure mode.
Orbis?
Story of
Other than like, other than like Orbis. Like, I wonder if there'll be like, I don't know, like some sort of, I don't know, a name.
Wait,
I don't know.
Buddha Cat in the chat can confirm it's coming built 7777. Julius?
Belt
Before.
before.
It's
Yeah.
not corrected.
I really hope that means before. Yeah,
Okay.
not coming belt.
You can confirm it's
Belt
coming
on
before 7777? Okay. Okay, that
Buddha
makes a
Cat is
lot more
coming with the
sense.
belts.
No. Okay, that means
That's like
it's
on
before
the-
7777.
Well, John
We've
already
got less
confirmed
than,
it's
like,
before
5,000 years.
2030. So, unfortunately,
Yeah.
that hint from Buddha was not very helpful.
Ah,
He was
darn it.
5,000 years
legal limit.
off.
The legal limit on what they can bring it down to is 2030 for
Yeah.
the fantastical predictions.
I mean, maybe Buddha can confirm that it's not December 31st, 2029. Maybe
I mean,
the legal department will let him say that.
That would be
Hey, it
really-
depends. I don't know.
Buddha,
That's
can
a
you-
tough
you
one.
confirm?
It's stretching it, though.
I could make a 10-minute video out of that.
I already
Oh my
have.
God.
I've made an hour-long video about that.
Before, yes, thank you for the clarification there, but I appreciate that. Hytale, the prequel, says Powerbyte.
Yeah, I'm playing Hytale
2,
the prequel
Kweebec
right
hate
now.
continues. The prequel. Imagine a prequel series to Hytale, like it was like animated, like Arcane or something. Dude, I'm just saying.
Imagine
I'm
we
just
see
saying.
a Kweebec in Arcane 2.
Oh, that'd be epic.
Right, got those big
Background.
boy bugs, you know. I'm curious if they'll do another event like the year that the first series released when
Riot
they
X Arcane.
crossed over with
I'm
Hytale.
making
Yeah,
a
Riot
video
X
on that.
Arcane.
I'm making a video on that.
It's happening, Connor.
You're making a video on the Riot X Arcane.
The
trailer you got?
potential.
Yeah, the
wasn't-
Wait, yeah,
possibilities
do
of
you
a
mean the
Riot
one-
X Arcane 2.
Oh,
okay.
the
I'm not
possibilities.
making a video
Okay.
on the 2021 one. It's a
I
lot
think
of
mine
ones.
is the most optimistic Hytale fan.
Oh, I definitely
I
am.
think we can label him.
I
as
definitely
well.
am.
I think that's good though. We need a range. You know, there's always
True,
been a range
true.
in this community. of
We got
people
Hugo
that
and
are-
Hawkon and Slamma, the party poopers. We got me,
Right.
the life of the party.
The overly optimistic one.
Yeah, you're always
Temple of
hyped.
Gaia.
I'm always hyped. There's no reason not to be hyped.
You're high.
Since
in
we got
Pokemon.
a bunch of technical people here, if Chad has any questions, just I'm reading right
I
now.
think
so
the
just,
entirety of
knock
chat
them
is
out.
busy asking Buddha for.
Yeah, if you
keys.
can take 2 seconds off asking Buddha questions, then we can take some questions as well.
Hytale 3, the Quebec's burned back. Oh no. Not
Yes,
Connor.
please. Yes, please. Dude, imagine the first time you meet a Kweebec and like you like anger it and then it just starts casting like fireballs at you. Like what? Like, how melted would your mind be?
So you
How
know,
to
you know,
divide by
you know how
zero in the
Farons
chat?
are moving to Zone 3. What if Quebecs are moving to Zone 4 to live in the lava?
Oh my god. I go to the
Wouldn't that be a
devastating
plot
lengths.
twist?
It would.
You know what it gives me the vibes of? You know, Ice Age 3, where it's like that the meerkat thing, the sloth that's like under with the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that makes sense. It's like
The
that if
first
you just
question
found a
is
Quebec in like Zone 4.
Oh, somebody
first
asked, by the
question
way,
is
how to
on
divide by
this-
0. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Um,
true.
Anyone willing
Easy.
to
You
answer
just
how to divide by
open your
0?
calculator and light it on fire. Insidious asks, Håkon Hytale when? I think you know the answer.
Insidious
Or
is
my
saying
answer,
that as if he
rather.
doesn't have the release date as well. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Damn,
It's
saved
It's like the
myself there.
secret Krabby
Saved
Patty
myself there.
formula, you know?
Lava backs.
How are we all doing? I'm
Working
doing
on.
great.
I'm feeling pretty
Wait,
good.
you-
I'm on a vibe.
Have we ever heard the team say Quebec? Could it be Quebec the whole
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, they've
God.
done
No, no,
interviews.
no,
They've done
surely not.
interviews.
Yeah,
Okay,
they said,
okay,
They said Quebec.
good. I was gonna say,
Just-
do,
just
we
watch the-
really know how to pronounce these things?
Just
Like-
watch
However,
the
though, we
Buddha-
haven't ever heard a Quebec.
We haven't heard of Quebec, that's true.
Ah, we've never heard the noise that a Quebec makes. Just saying.
Here we are.
Just saying.
Quebec Gordon.
No, there's that one Twitter post.
Oh, yeah,
Noxie
well,
did,
except-
asking,
Yeah,
asking
Gordon
people for
special.
the Quebec screams.
Oh gosh. I forgot
Hytale
about that. I
cheese
thought that there was a
in the
reason I
chat.
wrote that out of my memory.
Oh, the Quebec scream tweet.
I don't even remember that. I need to find that.
Yeah,
by
I like
Noxie.
this. I like this genre of Buddha.
And he died.
I like that genre of John answers.
What genre?
Oh my god.
Of
Quebec.
John saying, in Hytale, yes. In Orbis, maybe.
Oh my god. At that point, just don't answer the question.
He can answer.
Yeah.
He can say
Crispy
that.
Acorn. The Crispy Acorn's asking about fawns.
Oh
Oh,
my
no.
god. No, not fonts.
Yeah, we
Hugo's
got
in the
some
call
bad news about the fawns. According to
bad
Hugo,
stuff.
I still have not seen the interview.
Man, watch the freaking clip. It's
too.
literally.
I watched it. It's not looking too optimistic for fonts.
It is quite obvious that they're dead, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, when asked about the fonts, the response was like, sometimes you have to remove things in game design.
yeah.
So I don't know. We don't
It's
have a solid
quite
answer, but I think it might be
I think
time
there
to
could be
start the
references.
5 stages of grief.
There definitely will be references.
Oh, yeah.
No. My first one is denial, so I'll go through that first. And my denial is
Okay.
that I think that there could be like references to them having existed. Like, what if we find like fawn like ruins? I don't know. I'm yeah, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
You're being hopeful. I respect your fond
We didn't even
optimism.
see them in game, guys.
Stage
Why
one
are you so
complete.
attached to them?
We also haven't seen the Slothians mentioned in a while, or the
I-
Clops.
I think
I
they're. on the
always
team.
just found it so interesting that they were referenced in the like symbology, like the symbol page, like the concept art, because it must have meant that their symbols were important at the time. Like
What, the fawns?
Or right? Yeah, because they've got a symbol on that the element wheel graphic. Let me see if I can pull it up. on
So
the
I don't know
screen.
how many people will understand this reference, but if anyone's here played Outer Wilds, the fawns could be similar to what the Nomai are in that game. A now extinct species, but we learn a lot about them through different texts or their forgotten architecture and pots, all of that. So that
Yeah, 'cause
they
I
could
always
still
found it-
be
yeah, here
referenced,
we
but
go.
they're now not on Orbis anymore.
I wonder if the Clops are still around. I hope they are.
Kairos lethal operating systems, yeah.
Probably.
Or personnel, yeah, they definitely will.
is that?
I love that.
I've not heard that.
You don't watch Canadian
Because
Flash
the
then?
clubs had like a very clear purpose.
Nah, I check in on the pod occasionally. Not the most.
Unless they added like another, you know,
merchant.
type of tradesman that
Yeah.
replaced it. Merchant.
There is that one like Simon tweet which showed us like a Klopp in game. I remember that one. So like
It was part of a postcard.
somebody tweeted.
I don't know about the Simon
Yeah, no,
tweet.
but Simon like pointed out that.
Yeah,
one
he
was
was
a
it the
Klopp.
one where he's at the stall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Simon replied to it, and it's like, oh, that's a Klopp right there. That's a Klopp merchant. So, yeah.
I always found it interesting though. Like I really do want to see more from the at least the Slothians, because I mean like both on the Slothians were from that simple thing. Like you got Orcs, the Ferens, the Sand Emperor. You know, at least the Trolls and the Ferens, you know, a sort of thing. They've been referenced by John recently. No idea. I knew what the Sand Empress was really. I just assumed it was like somehow connected to the Scarix. Then we've got Varen and Gaia, so like the god and the antagonist, I guess, assumedly. But then like Slothians and Fawns are just there. And I know it's probably because like they wanted to like create like a certain distinctive variant style across like the key arcs. It is research, right? But I just think it's interesting that they were both included. And maybe they did have to cut them away. But then at that point, it's like, what are we going to see in Zone 4 then? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Or is Zone 4 the same? You know, they've reworked a lot of the zones. Is it still the same?
I mean, we did see
underground
those.
I hope
Yeah.
there's still dinosaurs, man. Dinosaurs needed.
I think we.
Rideable
Flash would be so sad
raptors.
if they removed raptors. If they removed raptors, Flash would be devastated.
Oh
Didn't
yeah,
we see
he's
those
Flash is
weird,
showing up
like,
at the
monsters?
Hypixel office. If that happens.
On a real raptor.
Yeah. He's going to ride a raptor to the Hypixel office. He's going to cross the Atlantic
he's
with
making a
it.
time machine to go back to the prehistoric era. And he's gonna get like in the Jurassic era. He's gonna grab a raptor, bring it back to Derry, and just show up. Say, John Hytale, you know, we need to be able to ride raptors in Hytale. God.
It's so funny. There's an artist in our community called Dairy Panda, and the way you said dairy
Yeah.
sounded like dairy, and I just imagined
Very.
Dairy just getting given all the secrets by accident because it was sent to him like mispronounced.
Sent to Derry.
Oh my
We
God.
meant to send the beta. We wanted to send the beta key to Derry, not dairy. Like
Oh, the old
Okay, so
Hytale
Julius
concept.
asks us what we expect from Hytale when it releases. Very good expectations or some thoughts in the back.
I'd say
I
a
guess we
game.
could take it back to. I guess we could take it back to the technical aspects. What do we expect from modding?
I'm going to interrupt you. I got to eat dinner. It is getting late. It was a beautiful chat with you fellas. And we got to do that again for the next developer blog post.
for sure.
Yep.
All right.
See you.
See you,
All right.
Myne.
Good night, guys.
Catch you later.
Chat. How we doing? New blog post. This one was kind of difficult. Not a lot of Hytale things to talk about, but I will definitely be live for the actual development blog post that hopefully still is coming in July. I'm hoping maybe even June. I think it's coming next month though. Based on the blog post, technically how many burning Kweebecs could be summoned in the real time without exploding the PC? It's a good question. I think you could definitely do thousands. I genuinely think you could do thousands. Anything else that I missed? I don't think so. That's gonna wrap it up, chat. That was a good 2-hour stream. Good talk about the blog post. I'm gonna make myself some dinner because I still have not eaten. I technically haven't eaten lunch. I had like a brunch. So, new video this week. No date on new video. Let me get the outro ready. Can't have a stream without the outro. You know what I mean.
I used to be the lost boy running insane. I used to be the ghost boy.
I love streaming, bro. We're gonna do it more. It's difficult when there's nothing consistent you can do. I don't really want to play Minecraft, and I don't think people really want to watch Minecraft. So we just gotta wait until there's some more Hytale things or things to discuss coming out. Definitely gonna be consistent once the game actually comes out, but right now it's a little difficult. Right now it's a little different. You hear the song. All right. Good night, guys. I hope everyone sleeps well, has a good week.